What's up, everyone, and welcome back to First and 15 Fantasy Football Podcast. If you haven't already, please give us a like, comment, share, subscribe to our channel. We're diving deep into the AFC West, and we're going to be covering now the Chargers. Let's get into it. Hey, everyone, and welcome back to another episode. Hopefully, we're giving you some insight and some real-time information that is helping you out with your strategies. We're going to be getting into the Los Angeles Chargers. We're going to be getting into some of their injury outlook for this coming season, what transpired last season, and seeing if they can continue on with their fantasy production, led by your head coach Brandon Staley and offensive coordinator of Joe Lombardi. The Chargers finished off the season with a 9-8 record last year, just one game above 500. You saw some key players adding to their offensive production and also their fantasy production overall last year. You saw the emergence of, Austin Ekeler staying relatively healthy and consistent. You saw a breakout or some flashes and images of Mike Williams, coming into his season, and then the consistency nature of Keenan Allen. If you haven't already, listened to the discussions with AB and Deo and Chris about who's going to be the wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 this year, it's definitely well worth the listen. But it's definitely a good discussion to have, and we're going to dive deep into it. But the Chargers are going to be led by Brandon Staley, and their offensive coordinator is going to be led by Joe Lombardi. It's his second season of offensive coordinator. Last year, he was able to lead the team to 5th in rushing and 5th in passing overall. We're going to see if he's able to continue with that, production off with this season and lead to some of these key players adding to their fantasy production. The first player we're going to get into is Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert had a fantastic season last year. He very well led to some of those fantasy championships with an overall PPR score of 420.9, according to whatever your ranking systems are. However, we're looking to see if he's going to continue on with that fantasy production and add to some of these key players this fantasy year. The good thing was that he was able to stay relatively healthy all year. He did not miss any games whatsoever. He added 443 pass completions for 5,014 yards. He added another 63 rush attempts for 302 yards. That's very well what we're looking for when a dualistic quarterback. Right now, in some of your redraft leagues, he's going as high as the 6th round, maybe as high as the 5th round, depending on what your draft strategy is. He's going anywhere in between. Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, depending on, again, whatever your ranking system is. But Justin Herbert, again, is hopefully going to continue on with that fantasy production, with these key players being added to their team. And then, again, with hopefully the emergence of Mike Williams and the consistency nature of Keenan Allen. The other key notable Charger player is Austin Ekeler. Austin Ekeler also had a fantastic season last year. We're looking to see if hopefully he can continue on with that consistency and his community-friendly and fantasy-friendly nature overall this coming season. He, again, was able to stay relatively healthy the entire season last year, considering that the previous year he did have a hamstring tear. He did go into injured reserve, and he missed the rest of the season. He only missed one game last year due to COVID, unfortunately, but again was able to stay relatively healthy in a physical nature. So that's a really good sign for him. He added rush attempts of 206 for 911 yards, 70 receptions for 647 yards. It was evident in the fantasy production. It was evident in his overall PPR score with those 70 receptions. That's essentially having a wide receiver and a running back, one on each position, adding to your fantasy team. 12 rush TDs, 8 pass TDs. And so we're looking to see if he can continue on with that fantasy production. If he gets anywhere near that fantasy production this coming season, he's definitely well worth the look when it comes to your draft strategy. Austin Ekeler is right now your 3rd overall running back in your redraft leagues, and he's going anywhere between 4th and 7th overall fantasy player in most best ball leagues right now. I've seen him go as 3rd overall in some of my best ball leagues. But you're going to be looking to see if Austin Ekeler can continue on with that fantasy production, considering how much fantasy production he had last year. And so we're looking to see that he stays, again, healthy throughout the season and increases his fantasy production from last year. The other key notable running backs for Chargers was Justin Jackson, Larry Roundtree, and Joshua Kelly. Justin Jackson is now a free agent, but he was able to play in 12 games total last year. He did miss a total of 5. He had a groin injury in week 5, and then also had a quad injury in week 8. He did offer some support to Austin Ekeler with 68 rushes at 364 yards, and then also added 22 receptions and 178 yards. Larry Rountree and Joshua Kelly as well did offer some support too, but no fantasy relevance, to offer last year's fantasy, season. And Larry Rountree and Joshua Kelly did play in relatively half the season, and they were all healthy scratches due to kind of Austin Ekeler's emergence and his consistent play last year. Now, let's switch gears. Let's get into the Los Angeles Chargers wide receivers. Keenan Allen can very well make a case for being a wide receiver 1 for this team. Mike Williams can make a very well case for being the wide receiver 1 for this team. If you haven't heard the discussions already between AB and Deo and Chris, they go deeply into that discussion. Mike Williams having that big play capacity can be very well wide receiver 1 status, considering his statistics last year. Keenan Allen, his consistent nature, relatively speaking, every single year, also makes a case for him to be wide receiver 1. But Keenan Allen was able to stay relatively healthy last year. He did not miss any games. He had 106 receptions at 1,138 yards. He also added 6 reception TDs. Right now, he's going 12th overall in your redraft leagues. In best ball leagues, he's going as high as your 3rd and 4th rounds. We're looking to see if Keenan Allen continued to have that consistent nature that he's been having in previous seasons and continues to support Justin Herbert with this fantasy production this year. Mike Williams, on the other hand, was able to offer the support in more of a big play nature. You'll notice it in his receptions and his overall yards compared to Keenan Allen. Less receptions at 76, but more yards, or at least comparable yards to Keenan Allen, but again with less receptions. So that big play capacity, 1,146 yards, it was very well evident in his fantasy production last year. Mike Williams, again, was able to stay relatively healthy last year. He did only miss 1 game due to a hamstring strain in week 3, but again stayed relatively healthy and finished off the season strong. Again, he added 9 reception TDs overall last year. And we're looking to see that he continues to emerge with that wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 status, however you see it. But either way, you're going to want a healthy exposure to either one of these, as hopefully, Joe Lombardi continues to sprinkle more and more targets over to Mike Williams and Keenan Allen throughout their season. Your other wide receivers for others was Josh Palmer and Jalen Guyton. Both of them, returning for Chargers. Joshua Palmer played in all 17 games last year and was able to stay relatively healthy. Did offer some support with 33 receptions at 353 yards. Did offer 4 reception TDs as well. Jalen Guyton as well did play throughout the entire season. He only did miss 1 game with undisclosed reason. He did offer, some support in the running game as well. 7 rushes, 34 yards, 31 receptions at 448 yards, offering 3 reception TDs. Again, no real fantasy relevancy too much last year, as you saw, some flashing images of the breakout performance with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. But we're going to see as, Justin Herbert continues to make more improvements with his accuracy and his decision making, that some of these targets get sprinkled over to some of these wide receivers. Jared Cook, he is now, a free agent. He is in your redraft leagues, 42 overall tight end. He was able to stay relatively healthy last year as well. They did bring over Gerald Everett from the Seattle Seahawks, and so that's a key acquisitions for the Chargers. And we're going to see if Gerald Everett is going to offer that more athletic nature that these Chargers are looking for. Some other key acquisitions are Isaiah Spiller. Isaiah Spiller comes over from Texas A&M as a rookie. In your dynasty leagues, he's 16th overall. In your redraft leagues, he's your 44th overall running back right now. And Isaiah Spiller right now in best ball leagues is going anywhere in between your 10th and 11th rounds, depending on, again, your draft strategies. They also added another running back, Letty Brown, from West Virginia. They also added Kevin Marks Jr. and another tight end, Trey McKitty. Trey McKitty has some flashes and images of being a great rookie addition tight end to this team as well. In your redraft leagues, he's going 79th overall as a tight end. And so we're looking to see if the Chargers can continue on with their fantasy production, considering what they did last year, 5th overall in both categories. And we're looking to see that they continue sprinkling these targets and fantasy production to these key players. But that's it for your Los Angeles Chargers. Hopefully that information is bringing you some insight and some more outlook into some of these injuries that plagued people last year, or these key players, and what's going to happen into an influence in this year's. Not too many key significant injuries on this team. Austin Eckler able to stay relatively healthy. Mike Williams and Keenan Allen as well. And we're looking to see some of these key acquisitions are going to add and support for Justin Herbert's continued production. Again, make sure that you catch us on the next episode. We'll be getting into the Las Vegas Raiders. Make sure that you follow us on Twitter. We're going to be giving you key insights and more injury updates on the real time. We'll catch you next time.